Hey guys, I have missed y'all so much. I just cannot express that enough. I'm so ready to get back to talking to you guys and posting again. And if you are new here, and this is the first time you've ever seen me, Jesus, I'm sorry. But my name is Becca, and traditionally I post videos like on weight loss and just random stuff. But this past year has been a bit of a dumpster fire for me. So a lot of my videos have just been a lot of me working through a lot of emotions and depression and anxiety. And this video apparently is just another dumpster fire, another trickle into that little explosion that I have going on in my life. But we are moving forward, we're moving past it, and I am ready to talk about it and get into everything. So I'm going to get into a bit of the personal stuff that I know a lot of you guys that are really close to me on here, I've been wanting to talk to you guys about, but I feel like I owe it to y'all to talk about the whole attempted break-in since I left you on a cliffhanger for a few months ago. So I'm gonna go ahead and jump into that. Okay, so first, I think I should just give you guys a bit of information about my living situation. Not that it makes a huge difference to the story, but it definitely ties in because I'm spilling all the tea in this video. I'm burning bridges. I do not care anymore. I feel like I am so tired of feeling like a victim to people and things not being resolved. And this is just me venting, but also telling you guys what's going on. So a bit about me and my whole living situation is I have lived in the same home for 9 years now. I do live in a rental with my husband and my 2 children. And then to one side of me, I have a woman who lives alone with her 2 children. And she moved in about a year ago, and she has been amazing. She's sweet. She's so, she seems like a wonderful mother. We don't know each other too personally, but as neighbors, she seems like such a wonderful person, and I have no complaints about her. She's great. And then on the other side of me, I have another family. So this whole story is going to be going back to this family, okay? So this family consists of a husband, a wife, and 2 children. I don't know if they're married. We're just going to stick with that because it's easier to just think of them that way. But they moved in about 2 years ago. So whenever they first moved in, I always try to give my neighbors like about a month before I start trying to bombard them with hey, this is who I am, nice to meet you. I would like them to get comfortable in their own environment, in their own space before I do that. So, and I do that with everybody that, has ever moved in next to us because we've lived here for so long. We've had multiple neighbors come in and out. But anyways, so with them, the first 2 days of them moving in, the first week at least, I hadn't met them. My husband hasn't met them. None of us have met them. And they were instantly posting signs outside of their house that were very aggressive. I'm not going to get into what those signs said, but it was just very aggressive and not just not approachable, I would say. And it made me less comfortable in the very beginning. And then before we had spoken to them, I did get a glimpse of the husband and the wife, and instantly my intuition was telling me that the husband was a no-go. I don't want him anywhere near my kids. I don't want him anywhere near me. And that's not me just trying to judge a book by its cover. I feel like because of the signs that they had outside of their house, they're already putting who they are and how they feel already up front and center. And I just don't align with that. And then also looking at this person, I was like, I just don't feel comfortable with this person. And I feel like everybody has intuition, and I feel like you need to rely on your gut. If your gut is telling you that this person's not safe, most likely they're not a safe person. So about a month goes by, and we haven't actually spoken to our neighbors at this point. But one day my husband is out in our driveway, and unfortunately our houses are 2 steps away from each other. We're right beside each other. And the husband comes out and speaks to my husband. And within that short conversation, he tells my husband that he has moved from a different state. Of course, he talks about his family. And then he also tells my husband that he's been to prison. And the only thing about that is this is the first time meeting my husband. And I thought that was a weird thing to just I feel like you should get to know somebody, or normal people get to know somebody before they just share that information. And I don't know, it's my opinion of it is either he's telling my husband because, maybe that's a huge part of his adult life and he just feels, it is what it is, or he was doing it to intimidate us. And now I realize I really do feel like it was to intimidate us, because of what we found out now, like later on. So far, so that was like the first month of them moving in. They've lived there for about 2 years at this point. And during this time that we've lived, I've been neighbors. I will say that they have been the worst neighbors that we have ever had. We've had many people move in beside us, but those have been the worst. I don't know. The easiest way and the simplest way to put it is we just have different lifestyles. Like, my kids have a very routine life. I put them to bed at a certain time. We're very quiet. We keep to ourselves. We're very, I just like to keep my living situation in my life more calm and just relax. I don't want like anything crazy. We don't do crazy things, but my neighbors are very loud, and there's a lot of other things that they have done that have just been like, I would say almost like normal neighbor complaints. Like if you have a rowdier neighbor than you, you're obviously going to have a bit more of like, like wishing that they wouldn't be so loud at night when your kids are going to bed, kind of a thing. You know what I mean? But so far they have just been an annoyance more than anything. And I'm very non-confrontational, especially with certain people that you don't know. Like some people you can have a cordial a conversation with, but then there's other people that if you try to ask them something, you don't know what their reaction is going to be. And I don't like conflict. I don't like argument, and I don't really care to have bad blood between me and my neighbors. So we have just pretty much put up with it for the past 2 years up to this point, because they're still currently my neighbors. So jumping into the events leading up to the attempted break-in, we had noticed that our neighbor, his wife, was no longer living with him for a while, which is none of my business. It's none of my tea. I don't need to know, don't want to know. But we did notice it. And we started to notice also that our neighbor was kind of becoming sketchy. I didn't know this until after the fact, because in the moment I wasn't really focusing on my ring every day. I don't keep up with my neighbors. They live their life. I live my life. But because of the attempted break-in, we went through a lot of our ring footage trying to figure out what was happening and why this happened and what was up with this whole situation. So within us doing that, we noticed that our neighbor, during the time that he was alone, he stopped parking at his house and would park his car a ways away from the house and would walk to the house at night whenever he'd come home from work. I didn't even know this, didn't notice it at all when he was doing it, but that's what he was doing, which is really sketchy. It's just the only reason why we knew he was being sketchy is just because the way that he just seemed sketchy, like something was going on. So I'm going to go ahead and jump into the night of the break-in and what happened. So at 6 p.m. on June 18th, me and my children were home alone and we were playing Mario. And in the middle of our game, we hear this loud, thud at my door. And I'm talking about, it sounded like a car hit my house. It was so loud and scary. But almost immediately after you hear that thud, you hear my door start to jiggle and try to be opened. Keep in mind, I have my deadbolt on and my bottom lock. I always keep my house locked. And then you start hearing a man start to scream at me and yell at me to come outside. He said a lot of cuss words. I'm not going to cuss in here. I'm going to keep it PG. I don't know where you're watching this right now, but he started to cuss a lot and telling me to get out of there right then and there, right? And whenever that started happening, I told my kids, I looked at them, I said, you need to go hide now. So my daughter ran to my son's room and my son ran to my room. And then I immediately called the cops. I told them my address, what was going on. And then once I was able to relay the whole message of what was happening in that situation, this man is continuing to yell. He's continuing to try to break in. And you can tell, he's not just knocking on the door. He's not just banging on the door. You can tell a difference of how much force is being hit into the door. And this man is full forcefully trying to body check my door, trying to break in and constantly trying to jiggle the doorknob to open it. So I go grab my daughter out of my son's room. I bring her to my room and I bring my son and her to my closet and tell them to stay in there not to open the door for anybody unless it's me or a police officer. And then after that, I come back to the living room with my weapon, and I'm still on the phone with the cops, and he keeps telling me to come outside, threatening me. And then he says my neighbor's name, the husband. And I'm like, in this situation, it's so scary. I'm so like, in the moment when you're in a situation like that, it's hard to think like, oh, well, he's to this side of me. Keep in mind, this is when my neighbor's not parking at his house, so there's no car over there. And I know for a fact my other neighbor is home alone with her 2 children. So if I just say he's at my neighbor's house, I don't want to send him over to her house and then she have to deal with this situation. And what if her door isn't unlocked and all that? So I'm thankful I didn't say that in the moment. But I kept telling him, I don't know who that man is. He doesn't live here and he's not inside this house. And I kept saying, like, I'm a woman. Like, I don't know who you're asking for. You need to leave and the cops are coming. He continues to threaten me, continues trying to break in. And after a while, the cops still haven't showed up yet. He gets into his car and he pulls out of my driveway, right? Because this guy also had the balls to park in my driveway. Like, he pulled his car into my driveway. Anyways, so I'm just so surprised of like how this man, like, where is his brain? I don't know. So anyways, he pulls out in front of my house, and so I'm telling dispatch, I'm like, hey, he's leaving. And I'm like, I'm a wreck right now. I'm crying. I'm hysterical. Like, I'm freaking out. Okay. And I'm telling them like, okay, he's leaving. But I realize his car is still in front of my house. Like, he's not leaving. He just pulled out of the driveway. And then he pulls back into the driveway, comes back to my door, bangs on it with his arm, and he says, get out here, MFer. This is your last chance. And then I tell him again, I say, the police are coming right now, and I am a woman. I am not whomever you're looking for, and you need to leave. And then he finally got back into his car, and then he drove off. And then within like a minute of that time passing, a police officer pulls up. And so this whole situation is frustrating in a sense also for me, because I've never been put in this situation. And I feel like how things were dealt was very, just not great. It wasn't dealt with the way that I feel like it should have been dealt with. And you can have your opinion on it too. I feel like we probably will have a similar opinion. But anyways, so the police officer pulls up, and I will say he was very apologetic to what was happening, and he seemed understanding. But I feel like he had the same energy as if I was telling him my dog ran away and I can't find him. You know what I'm saying? Like, there just wasn't a lot of like, okay, we're going to find this guy. We're going to get this figured out. Like, we're going to take care of everything, right? It was just more of like, that's crazy. Like, I don't know. That's never happened. I don't know. Like, it was just a lot of that. So in the moment, I've never had to write a police report, and they're expecting you while you're in your traumatic state to write a full police report. And my first police report, all I put in it was that this man drove this certain car and that he was a white man. And that's all I had. Like, guys, I didn't know who this man was. I was looking at my camera, had no idea who this man was. Couldn't tell you. Never seen him before in a day in my life. And he's trying to break in my house. You know what I mean? So I left that situation where the cop was like, well, you know, if you find out any more information, let us know, and kind of like left, right? And he said that he was going to patrol the house for the rest of the night to make sure nothing else happened. But I think the moment that I told him that the man trying to break into my house was looking for my neighbor, it was like in a way where he was like, oh, you know, he came to the wrong house. It was an accident. Like, no worries. He won't mess with you again. Like, it was just a miscommunication, I guess, of what house he lived in. But for me, it's like, no, this man tried to break in my house. Like, we need to get him, you know, charged with something. I don't understand how people can attempt to do something. If he did get into my house, what, you know what I mean? Like, now you're going to do something? I don't know. It's just, it aggravates the living crap out of me, how it was dealt with. So the situation happens, right? And because he's looking for my neighbor, now I'm doing my own little detective work, and I figure out his full name. I tell everyone in my family, I call my husband, I tell him the whole situation. I call my sister-in-law and my brother. I tell my mom, like everyone that's close to me, I tell them what happened. I'm like hysterical, I'm upset. So when I tell my sister what happened, she is not like a normal person. My sister, she did a lot of academic success, and I'm very proud of her. But she is like a whole nother breed of person. She should have been a detective. Like she could solve a case within a day. I really do feel like that was her hidden, like if she ever doesn't do what she's doing now, she should go into detective work. But I was able to give her just a little bit of information that I knew, like my neighbor's name and, just other things. And she was able to figure out exactly who my neighbor was, exactly who the man was that tried to break in my house, which was my neighbor's brother. Yeah. And because the man that tried to break in my house is a smart guy, he wore a tank top to break into my house, and it showed all of his tattoos. So we were able to not only identify the car that he was driving, we were able to identify the tattoos and everything, right? So my sister-in-law is able to, she figures out his number. She figures out his address. She figures out his, like everything. Like we know everything about this man at this point. I'm not going to say his name, but I am, of course, posting his picture because I have him on video, and I don't feel comfortable posting the video because it shows my location, and I don't want to give any of that information out there. And truthfully, I don't even feel bad if I were to say his name because he admitted to the crime, which you will see on the screen, because my sister used a texting app, it doesn't show your number, but you're able to text other people. And she asked him if it was him, and he verified. And he also verified that he tried breaking into my house, which is insane. Like crazy. And the man is a 40-year-old man. Yes, acting like an 18-year-old, acting like he has no sense. And I just can't, I can't wrap my head around the fact that someone who is older than me, and I don't feel like 40 is an old age. I feel like 40 is relatively young, but 40 is way too old to be acting like you don't know how to regulate your anger, your emotions. You should be able to have communication with people when you have conflict. And if you feel so angry at somebody, maybe you just shouldn't have them in your life. You shouldn't be coming up to people's houses trying to break in and fight them. And you have literally no understanding what your actions do to other people, because what you do has a ripple effect on every single person that you try to have this whatever anger, aggression out on. You have now traumatized me, my children, and you are a piece of crap. Sorry, I went a little bit too much into what I was feeling in the moment, but I mean, it's true. Like if I never want to speak to that man, I never want to see him again, but if I were to say anything to him in this moment, I would say that what your actions that you do affects everyone around you. And that, the way that you came to my house, ready to fight somebody, you didn't care that I was a woman. You didn't care that I was crying. You didn't care that I was telling you that I had a gun or that the cops were coming. All you wanted to do was get into my house. Everything else didn't matter to you. And your actions were disgusting, and you should be ashamed of yourself. You're 40 years old, and like I said, that is way too old to be having these outbursts like a child. I'm 29 now. I was 28 when you tried to break in my house, and I'm able to realize when I get to a spot where my emotions are getting to the point of anger that I need to take a step back. I need to really focus on what I'm going through and try to find a way or an outlet to take care of that situation rather than trying to hurt another individual. I don't know what your brother did to you, but I know what you did to me and my family, and I will never forgive you for that. And I believe in karma, truthfully and fully believe in karma. And that's about it. You're just a horrible person in my book. So with all that being said, getting back to it. So since I told, my sister everything, my sister-in-law, she did all the detective work, found out who this man was. While she was doing that, my husband was thinking about the conversation that he had with our neighbor back, when they first moved in. And he was able to find the police report of why my neighbor went to jail. And he went to jail for attempted murder. He tried to kill somebody out of an argument. He used a gun and tried to, I guess, end the argument that way. And that's why he went to prison, was because he tried to kill somebody. So honestly, my neighbor, his family, I don't want nothing to do with them. They're all horrible, disgusting people. I don't know why you can justify shooting someone or why you can justify trying to break into someone's house. And honestly, I don't think they can. So I think my intuitions was right about my neighbor, and that's that. So, which is insane. And I can talk about what he did if you want me to in a later video, but just getting it out in this video, I'm not going to go into what he did exactly because it really doesn't matter. He was charged with it. He did it. I mean, that's all I need to know. So when it comes to, now I have all this information, right? I have all the information about what this man did and who this man is, right? Like who the brother is at this point. And now I know he's a brother. Now I know what's going on. So I call the cops back, right? And I'm like, hey, I have information on the man that tried to break into my house. And so the same cop comes back to my house, and then another cop comes to my house. So now the first time whenever I was in immediate danger, only one cop pulled up. But now that I'm not, two cops pull up, which is kind of funny to me. But the two cops pull up, and now it's different. Now it's, oh, there's nothing we can do because he didn't actually break in. So we can't charge him with anything. And it's like, what? That's like crazy to me. Attempted break-in? Like, I don't understand. Like, everybody understands that if you try to break into someone's house and there's proof of you trying to break into someone's house, you will be charged with that. Like, that's insane to me. And so they were just kind of like, just kind of like, okay. And I told them about my neighbor, because at this point now I know about my neighbor is a ex-prisoner who went to prison for murder, and they obviously didn't care about that. They were like, okay, there's nothing we can do about that. Like, that's crazy. And they just kind of like, were like, well, yeah, just, have that gun. You need to have a gun. That's it. Like, they were just telling, that's all they kept telling me. Just, you need a gun. You need to have a gun. That's all you need. And it's like, I'm calling you to help me. Like, this man tried to break into my house. I'm giving you all this information. Also, what was really annoying to me, it was kind of like, how do you know this information? How did you get a hold of this? Like, why do you know all these things? And it's like, this dude tried to break in my house. I'm doing everything I can to figure out who this person is. Would you not? Like, I don't know. But anyways, so, the next few days, I call my police department, my local police department, and I say, hey, what's going on with my case? Like, are y'all going ahead with this? What's going on? Nothing. Crickets. They're just like, oh, well, we have to do an investigation. Okay, that's fine. Another couple days go by, and I'm like, hey, what's going on with the investigation? Like, have y'all, done anything about this? Well, we're still investigating the whole situation. So now a week has went by, and I call them again and I say, hey, nothing's happening. Like, what's going on? Y'all aren't doing anything. He's not been arrested. Y'all know who he is. Then finally, you know how they kept saying, I'm investigating it? They were not investigating it. They were not looking into it. They didn't look at any of the stuff that I had given them until that moment, until 7 days after the attempted break-in. They finally looked at my paperwork, looked at everything, looked at the text, looked at the pictures, looked at the videos, looked at everything, right? They finally looked at it. And then he was like, within a couple hours, or not even a couple hours, probably about an hour, he calls me back and he's like, oh yeah, like, I see where he bought his car. Like, I can see that it's definitely him. Everything matches up. But there's nothing I can do. I can't arrest him. I can't make up laws. I can't just go after him because he tried to break into your house if he didn't cause any damage to your door, which he didn't, because he didn't kick my door. He just kept trying to hit it with his body, and I have a metal door, so it didn't do any damage in that sense. So I didn't have proof of damage, so there's nothing they can do. And it's just like, that to me is a crock of crap. In the moment I was like defeated because it had been a week at this point, and I was like, look, fine, if you can't press charges, can you at least go like speak to him and scare him away from coming back? But I don't think they even did that. Honestly, I don't even know if they even filed my police report. And that's very frustrating to me because I feel like I have always had this like sense of hope and like security that I live so close to the police department that if something were to happen to me, the police department would be there, right? Like I would be okay. And this just made me realize that that security is not there. Like I don't have that security anymore. And whenever this whole situation happened, within a day or two after the attempted break-in, I started calling lawyers because I'm trying to figure out like what can I do in this situation, because I'm a victim and I feel like crap and I feel scared. I feel hopeless. Like my kids are traumatized. My children, like my son won't even, like he sleeps with me at night, and my daughter, she's already sleeping with me, but it's like seeing that, like, one, going through a traumatic experience as a child or going through traumatic events as a child sucks. Like it sucks. But being the parent and your child goes through a traumatic experience, and in that moment, like we're all going through that same experience, right? And I did my best, and I'm very proud of the way that I handled everything. But at the same time, it's like, what would have happened if he came in? You know what I mean? Like, even what did happen is traumatic enough. Like, my kids are still dealing with the effects that happened in June. And that is so hard as a mother to watch your children go through that and still suffer from that event, and how this is going to always have an effect on them forever. And this is a memory that they probably will always have. And that's where it like really upsets me a lot, because I really do care about my kids a lot. My kids are my everything. I love them with all my heart. I would do anything and everything for my kids. And my parenting was put at its highest at that moment. Like I had to protect them with everything. And it's a crazy, scary, sad situation that my family went through. And I knew I would get upset when it comes to my children, because I feel so like, it's a sucky, horrible situation, and it's scary. And I wish it never happened. And if I could go back in time, there's really nothing I could do to prevent someone else acting crazy and being a crazy person. But I just wish that event never happened. But with that being said, I did try to speak to lawyers. So at this point, I've never spoken to a lawyer. I didn't know that there's criminal lawyers, there's civil lawyers, didn't know any of those things. But I called, not kidding you, probably around 10 different lawyers. One, I was calling the wrong ones because my case would have been civil, I guess. I don't even still to this day know. No lawyer would help me out. They were basically like, you need to get the police officers to take care of this situation. But they weren't. And I explained that to them, and they were like, well, your hands are pretty much tied. There's really nothing that you can do if the police aren't going to do anything. So the cops were unable to help me really with everything, and the lawyers told me there was nothing they could do for me. I did ask the police department if I could get a restraining order, but they told me I couldn't because we didn't have a past relationship and because we weren't related. So, and I guess in the state of Alabama, they changed their laws where you have to have one or the other, which is really weird. I feel like that defeats the purpose of a restraining order. I don't understand why you have to have a relationship with someone if there is a person who has put you in danger before, why you can't go ahead and take the precaution to protect yourself from that person in the future. I think that's kind of crazy and insane. But unfortunately, there's nothing I can do about it. So I am essentially have my hands tied. There's nothing I can do. My kids, we went through this situation, and there's no justification. The man that tried to break in my house had nothing happen to him. He gets a slap on the wrist. And I did tell my landlords about the whole situation, but they told me that there's also nothing they can do about it, which is, I understand that. I told them that too. Whenever I called them, I was like, look, I know that my neighbor wasn't the one that tried to break in my house, so there really isn't anything they can do on that front. And unfortunately, I think a lot of you guys can understand that I'm just not in a situation right now where I'm able to, up and move, financially. I'm just not there right now. Where I live, I do live in a spot where I don't pay as much as probably a normal person. And that has really helped my family, and I'm able to, do things like be a stay-at-home mom right now because of that. So I know that some of you might have that question of why haven't I moved? I would love to move in the future. We are going to be trying to buy a house in the future, but right now that's not where we're at in our life right now. So I can't, unfortunately, move right away. So that's kind of where we're at with everything. Oh, and then when it comes to the neighbor, right, his wife did come back, so they are back together and back to their normal. I mean, the husband never apologized, never said anything, and he knows that. We found out that it was his brother, because my husband, a long time ago, he had gotten my neighbor's number because my neighbor had a dirt bike stolen from his house. And we were nice enough to give him whatever footage that we had from our cameras to try and help him figure out what, who could have taken it. So my husband had his number because of that situation, and he sent him the picture of the man trying to break in our house, and he didn't reply to it, didn't acknowledge it. And, it's sad to me that, I feel like there should have been, at least a conversation from him, apologizing, explaining, and he didn't give us that. He just doesn't care, So I have zero respect for either of those men, and I'm just going to continue to take care of my family, to keep them as safe as I possibly can, and to, move forward from this situation. So if you've been around my channel for a while now, you know that this year has been really difficult on me. And in February, from, now the break-in, it just feels like this year has just been a lot. And whenever, even like looking back at the videos that I made from February, I know I took some time off, but, I tried jumping back into making videos, and I was still severely depressed because of all that I was thinking about and going through. My depression, my anxiety was just, you can even tell in those videos, like I don't really like watching them because, I'm trying to push forward and do like weight loss challenges and like trying to push myself to lose weight and trying to like, jump back into eating healthier because that's what I want to do. I want to be healthier. I want to lose weight. I want, there's goals that I had set for myself this year, and it's like we're almost at the end of the year and I haven't met half of those goals, and I just feel like I'm so ready for this year to be at its end so that, I can continue to move forward. And maybe this year is just one of those years that I look back on and go, that year wasn't that great of a year, but that's okay. I learned a lot. But with that being said, it's just like my depression and anxiety has been so bad. And when I look back at those videos, I can obviously see how bad my mental health was. And taking some time away, even though I feel like it was quite a bit of time, and I apologize, for that. But at the same time, I feel like I really needed to really focus on my mental health because it was at such a low point already. And I was already struggling with severe depression from, past traumas in that moment. And then having this new trauma come in and this new whole like scenario, like it was just the break-in, it really did. It was like I was dealing with depression, and then the break-in happened, and it was like just overflowed. I just couldn't, I was at my lowest low recently with depression, and it's even still kind of hard to talk about because it wasn't that long ago, you know what I mean? And I'm still like I'm upset talking about half this stuff because it's still fresh. Like, I don't know if I will ever look back at this and be, totally okay with the situation. This is something that I feel like will always be an experience that I'll never forget, and it will always stick with me and my children. And looking at where I'm at today, I have really done a lot of work with trying to work through my depression. I have spoke to a lot of people. I have been very open and honest about what I'm going through, and that's really helped me with the support system that I have. And I want to also, I know I've done this many times before, but I just want you guys to know that you guys that have reached out to me when I was, not posting, it means so much to me. Like, I really wish I could like just express it enough to you guys that, the things that you guys have done for me to help me get through this year, the things that y'all have said, like, this community is so amazing and wonderful. And without you guys, this year would have been a lot harder for me to go through and to really deal with what was happening in the moment and moving past that. So I just want to really, really thank you guys. I love y'all so much. And I hate not having a lot of communication with you for these past few months, but I feel like my mental health was so low that, like, there's even parts of me that, like, I'm really, like, when I think about it a lot, it's just, it upsets me that I feel like my depression has taken away so much from me. When I first started posting videos, I was watching a lot of other people that were also posting weight loss videos, and I made friendships through that. And a lot of those people, I haven't watched half of their videos. I stopped watching them at a certain point. I stopped communicating with my friends. Even with you guys, like, my communication with you guys was slowing down. I was bottling up everything inside. And like I said, I was severely depressed. I was dealing with, some really heavy stuff. And I just appreciate that I had so many of you guys that had my back and that were there for me. And I really do truthfully miss y'all. And, I don't even know if half the people that were there for me will even continue to even see this video because it's been so long. But I do want to thank you so much. And moving forward from this, right, I want to get back to posting videos because it is something that I do enjoy when, I'm in a better headspace, and I still enjoyed posting it when I was depressed. It was just, I felt like a failure in my weight loss journey, and I felt like a failure in other ways, like, because I was failing with working through a lot of the, mental health issues that I was going through. But I can honestly say today that I feel like I'm doing better. I, of course, still have anxiety. I still have depression. I'm still working through a lot. I think there's a lot that I have to continue to always work through. But I am human. And, I feel like a lot of you guys can understand that, this year it's just been a year. You know what I mean? Like, I think a lot of you guys can sympathize with me needing some time and, being okay with that. And I really do appreciate that. But moving forward, I'm going to start posting again every Thursday. I don't know if I'm going to keep getting into the challenges stuff. I do feel like, it could be fun, while I'm trying to lose weight, to try to have these, little goals. I, of course, am still using the Grow with Joe app. I really do enjoy doing her workouts, and, I actually enjoy her workouts, and I don't enjoy a lot of workouts, so that says a lot. But I paid for her app for so many months, and I haven't used it for most of the year. And I have told myself that for the next few months, I have to use it or I have to cancel it. Like, I can't pay for something that I'm not using. You know what I mean? That it just doesn't make sense. And I know I'm not the only one. I mean, I know that a lot of us have gotten gym memberships and then you just don't go to it half the year. So I don't feel like, ashamed saying that out loud, but I need to be very cautious about, like, I need to get back into it. I need to have fun with it too. And I don't, I'm just going to post whatever. I'm not going to be so, like, gung-ho of, like, I have to do these certain goals. I will lose weight. I will meet my goals. But I think this year is just a lot of, like, I need to really grasp a lot of the good things that are coming in, like the holidays and spending time with family. But I also need to, like, reel it in and get back on track and make my routines that, really do help me move forward and push, to better things. So I will be posting every Thursday moving forward. Now, is those videos going to be solely weight loss? I don't know. We'll see. But I mean, I don't even know if I could say most of my videos are weight loss strictly. I think that I kind of just post whatever, whenever. But I am going to get back into it. I hope that you guys were able to stay this long in the video. I mean, I feel like I've talked forever, but there's a lot to talk about. And it sucks feeling like admitting to these things in a way, like, having to say, like, hey, mental health sucks. And, but at the end of the day, like, I've had so many of you guys that support me, tell me that I'm not the only one and that you understand what I've gone through and what I'm going through. And or maybe, you know, you can just at least sympathize with it, and your encouragement, the things that you guys say to me, and, you know, it helps a lot. And I love y'all, and I will see you guys next Thursday with whatever video that is. And I am looking forward to the holidays and spending it with you guys, and I will see you all in the next one. And